So let's talk about scale choices on a tune. We'll look at Bye Blackbird today. So Bye Blackbird has some relatively simple and straightforward chord changes, so it gives us the opportunity to dive deep into how we'd handle the improv. So here we are, look what we have. We have an F major, we have a 2-5 back to F major. Now in improv, I'm not really worried about major 7 and major 6. It can be either of them. I'd probably play the major 7 because there's nothing in them. I'm not going to have a melody to constrain me in terms of whether it should be major 7 or major 6. But when we have the root in the melody, when we're playing the melody, then major 6. This F6 over A, because we got the root in the melody, don't have to follow that either. Flat 3 diminished, which leads to 2. That's what we expect, because flat 3 diminished, the chord on the flattened third of F generally leads to chord 2, G minor 7. Not always, but generally. And then we get a 2-5, right? So let's talk about that first A. Here's what I would do with scales. Keep it nice and simple. Let's look at all the chords, first of all, that are in the F major scale, and therefore we could just play the F major scale all over them, okay? So I'll just mark anything that is in the key of F. That's what I really mean by the F major scale. All of these are in the key of F without any additional notes needed. So if we want, the simplest thing we can do is just take the F major scale all over that stuff. When we get these flat 3 diminished chords, like this one, ideally, I would play the diminished scale, all right? So the diminished scale for me is taking that A flat diminished and approaching each note from a half step below B, half step below D, half step below F. The diminished scale. But if you're a newer player and you find that really hard, then I'll show you some tricks as well. But so far, let's see. F major. That was a surround note, right? So don't write to me and say I played extra note. I played an extra note. May well do that. I may play chromatic notes, but back to F. A flat diminished, back to F. Okay, so those are my simple scale choices for that first A section. If you're enjoying this lesson, would you please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when there's a new video. A positive comment in the comments section really helps as well. And if it's time to level up your playing and get some freedom, then consider joining us on Jazz Skills. More about that at the end. For now, let's get back to the lesson. Now, if the diminished scale is really hard for you and you're just getting started, this is how you can just utilize some chord tones. So I'm just going to focus on the second line. Now, this is what I mean by chord tones. I don't just mean go up. I see some videos that you know, to do that, you're not going to get any real playing done. So do some stuff like this. Take those chord tones and make some shapes with maybe the occasional half step underneath. So for example, first thing you might do is just arpeggiate the A flat diminished. Go from the B now. Invert so D's at the bottom. Invert so F's at the bottom. Now I'm just going to put a half step beneath each beginning. Now what about if I put a half step beneath the beginning note and the next note? Half step. But the rest of it is still just the A flat diminished, right? So people who've played longer will know that that's utilizing the diminished scale, but if you don't know that yet or you haven't learned that yet, that's okay. Now let me do that inverted. Bottom note, half step. Next note has a half step as well. And then the last one. So already you've got some things to play around with there. So if I go from that line, the second line. And then I'm back out into F, all right? So little tricks like that can get you out of trouble if you're getting slowed down by a diminished scale. I was taking them on 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and that sort of thing. Let's see what happens if I don't do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3. That's okay. It's not wrong. It's fine. But yeah, that's the way I did it at the time. Okay, so that's the first A section. Let's see what happens, what we can do with the second one. So these are F major chords, or chords in the key of F major, so I don't need to. There are alternatives and options, but I don't need to find new scales there, right? The place I really do need to find a new scale is for that D7, because D7 is not a chord in the F major key. So what we would do is look at, when it's a dominant chord, I look at where it's going to. If it's going to G minor, I take the G minor scale. For me, that means the G harmonic minor scale. We're going to look at all this, and that will get me through that whole section now. So here's what I would do. Take that G harmonic minor scale, which, by the way, for new people is the major scale with the flattened third and flattened sixth. And then practice taking it from D. Practice taking it from D chord notes. I'm going to take them just short of an octave. Could take it from this E flat as well, because that's on the voicing for D7 level 2s. Great, right? So now we have scales for that whole section. So G minor 7, D7, back to the F scale. Or, more advanced people, I will say that when it's a 2-5, think more like the C7 scale, which, yes, has the same notes, but gives you different tensions. Because if I play F, I can feel like this. If I think C7, so it's more to do with how I'm thinking, then I'll get stuff more like this. Right, so for me there's a little more tension released there. Okay, B section. So let's see if we still have any chords from the key of F. Well, we've got G minor 7, that's a chord in F, so obviously you have to know this stuff inside out, right? G minor 7 flat 5 is not a chord in F because it has the flat 5. C7 is, and that's it for that whole section. Right? So here's how I would handle the rest of the scales. F7, it's a dominant chord that's not going home. It's not going down to B flat major, which is down a fifth. I'd call that home, right? It's not going to B flat minor, which is also down a fifth. So for me, home is down a fifth from that dominant, either to major or minor. It's doing neither of those, so for me, I'll just take the F7 scale. So if I haven't got any context, then just a straightforward F7 scale, which I know we spoke about, some of you call a mixolydian, right? But for me, just an F7 scale. And that's got to last for 2 bars, hasn't it? Because we got another F7 there as well. Then we have this A minor 7 flat 5 to D7. That's a minor 2-5. So minor 2-5 going to G minor. It's going to be the G harmonic minor scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're out, right? So when it's a minor 2-5 going to a minor, take the harmonic scale of the minor we're going to. But when we get to that minor, that G minor, for me, it can be back to the F major scale. If you want, and you can get good sounds out of the G harmonic minor, fine. But as a simple rule, just the F major scale. Don't worry if there are little extra notes here and there. My foundation and basis is the F major scale. Doesn't mean I'll never play another note, right? G harmonic minor. F major scale. So now we've got the last part, which is this G minor 7 flat 5 to C7. That's a minor 2-5, but it doesn't fulfill. We'd expect that to go to F minor because those are F minor notes. So let me explain. F harmonic minor. If I take the second chord of it by going 1, miss a note, 3, flat 5, and the flat 7. Anyway, it doesn't matter what all the degrees are, but they were alternate notes in F minor. We get a G minor 7 flat 5. If I do the same thing from the 5th, F harmonic minor notes, we get a C7. So that is a 2-5 in the F minor scale. So I'll take that there, even though it's not going to F minor. It's going back to F major. So I'm going to play over the second line where the arrow is. G minor is an F major scale. Again, I'm playing little surrounds and stuff because it's so embedded in my playing, I can't just stick to F major. Let me try and be really clean. F major. F minor. And out, right? The way I'd really want to play would be... Yep, so my foundations are built on these major scales, harmonic minor scales, and we had a little bit of diminished. That gets us through, I believe, the whole tune because nothing new happens towards the end either. Okay, that's how I would take scales on Bye Blackbird. Hope that made sense and helped you. Well, you made it to the end of this lesson, so I hope you enjoyed it. Consider joining me on Jazz Skills, where we'll take you on a real journey of fluency, not just throw loads of content at you, but really focus on your transformation, teach you which skills need to be in place, how to work on it, and support you all the way. So I hope you'll join me there. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.